Hey folks, in this episode I'm going to show you how to make this Nebula Star Cluster material in Blender. This tutorial should be easy to follow and it shouldn't take that long to complete. So without further ado, let's get to it. So open up Blender, we're going to go to Edit, Preferences, and under Add-ons we're going to search for Node and then enable the Node Wrangler here. Once you've enabled that, we're going to click this button and click Save Preferences, and that will ensure the Node Wrangler loads every time we load Blender. I'll then close this window here. I'll be making this scene in cycles. You can use Eevee if you like. So I'll just set up the Eevee engine if you want to use Eevee. So under the Render tab, I'm going to go to Volume, and I'm going to change the resolution to 1/4. And this is just for viewport performance. So if you find that your viewport performance is a bit slow, you can keep it to 1/8. But for your final render, I'd go for 1/2 or 1/1. We'll also expand the shadows options over here, and we'll enable volume shadows. I'm not using Eevee, so I'm going to change my render engine from Eevee to Cycles. I'm going to change my device type from CPU to GPU. For my viewport, I'm going to enable denoising, and maybe I'll set a viewport denoising threshold of 0.05. For my render noise threshold, I'm going to set this to 0.025, and I'm going to set the max samples to 512. I'll then navigate and expand light paths. I'm going to turn my diffuse bounces to 0. I'm going to turn my glossy bounces to 0. I'm going to turn my volume bounces up to 4. I'm going to increase the transparent levels to 16. I'll then scroll down. I'll expand volumes and I'll enable biased. I'll set my viewport step rate to 4. I'll keep the render step rate to 1. I'm going to ensure that I've got my default cube selected. I'll then navigate to the modifiers tab over here. I'll then click add modifier. We go to generate and we'll choose subdivision surface. I'm going to set this to level 2. I'll then click this arrow here and click apply. In my 3D viewport, I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to ensure all the vertices are selected. I'll then hit S10 to scale it up by 10. I'll hit enter. I'll tab out of edit mode. In my outliner, I'm going to rename the cube to Nebula Star Cluster. For now, I'm just going to hide this from the viewport. I'm going to select my light. I'll hit delete. In my viewport, I'm going to hit Shift A. I'm going to go light and I'll choose point. I'll navigate to the light data tab over here, and I'll increase the power to 150. Maybe I'll set a radius of 0.1. I'll navigate to my outliner and unhide the Nebula Star Cluster. In my 3D viewport, I'm going to hit numpad 1 to go into front view. I'm going to take my cursor to the bottom left of the 3D viewport until I see a crosshair. I'll left click and drag up and open up a new window. I'll then change this from the 3D viewport to the shader editor. I'll select the Nebula Star Cluster object. If you haven't already got a material, click new, and then we'll rename this material to Nebula Star Cluster. In my shader editor, I'm going to hit N to hide the N panel. I'll just zoom in. I'm going to take the principal BSDF. I'm going to hit delete. Maybe I'll just increase the shader editor, give us a bit more room. This Nebula material is going to have two elements. So we're going to have the Nebula Cloud element, and then we're going to have the Nebula Star element. So I think it only makes sense to work on the Nebula Cloud element first. Clouds are a volume object, so I hit Shift A. I'm going to go shader, and we'll choose volume scatter, and I pop that there. We'll hit Shift A, we go shader, and we'll choose volume absorption, and I'll pop that there. Shift A, we go shader, and we'll choose add shader, and we'll pop that there. I'll just drag this material output over to here. I'll connect the volume socket from the volume scatter into the top socket of the add shader, and the volume socket from volume absorption into the bottom socket of the add shader. I'll then connect the add shader to the volume socket of the material output. I'll just go into rendered view. So currently our world is grey. So I'm going to go over to my world tab over here, and I'm going to set the strength to 0. And on my volume scatter node, I'm going to set the anisotropy to 0.5. On the volume scatter node, I'm going to set the colour to a light blue. On my volume absorption node, I'm going to set the colour to a pale yellow. I'll then hit Shift A, I'll go texture, and we'll choose noise texture, and I'll pop this up here. I'm going to change it from 3D to 4D. And on the noise texture node, I'm going to hit Control T, and that should add a texture coordinate and a mapping node. I'm going to change the coordinates from generated to object. For this noise texture, I'm going to set the scale to 0.55. I'm going to set the detail to 8. And I'm going to set the distortion to 0.25. I'll then hit Shift A, I'll go to colour, and we'll choose colour ramp, and I'll pop that there. With the black flag, I'm going to set the position to 0.5. And for the white flag, I'm going to set the position to 0.7. I'm going to connect the colour from this noise texture into the factor of the colour ramp. I'll just box select these nodes here. I'm going to hit G, bring them across a bit. I'll then take this noise texture. I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate, and I'll pop this here. I'll then connect the color socket from this noise texture into the vector of this noise texture, and I'll plug the color socket from the color ramp into the scale socket of the noise texture. Maybe I'll drag this color ramp down a bit, and I'll drag the noise texture up slightly. So for this noise texture node, I'm going to set the roughness to 0.7, and I'm going to change the distortion to 0. And the reason I've done this is because I want this noise texture to be slightly offset to this one, and that will give like a feathered effect around the clouds. I'll then hit Shift A, I'm going to go Utilities, we'll go Math, and we'll choose Maths. I'm going to change it from Add to Multiply. I'll then connect the color socket from this noise texture into the top socket of the Math node. I'll connect the value from the Math node into the density of the volume scatter, and I'll also connect it into the density of the volume absorption. And now this value becomes the density. I'm going to set my density to a value of 10. I'll then hit Shift A, I'm going to go Color, and we'll choose Color Ramp, and I'll pop this in between the noise texture and the Math node. And now I just need to drag this black flag across. Maybe just for now I'll set this to 0.475. When I was making the concept for this, I was getting strange artifacts in cycles. So if you're experiencing strange artifacts in cycles, go to your render tab over here, scroll down to where it says bias, disable and enable biased, and then just play around with your step rate and then go back to a step rate of 1, and it should resolve itself absolutely fine. So all of these nodes here are the bases for the Nebula Clouds, so it makes sense to put these in a frame. So I'll just box select these two nodes here, I'm going to hit G, just drag these out of the way. I'll then box select these nodes, I'm going to hit F to add a frame, and I'm going to rename the frame to Nebula Clouds. I'll just select the material output, I'll just drag this over to here. So next up we want to work on the Nebula Star clusters, but before we do that, it's a good idea to save your project. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to save my project as Like and Subscribe. Thanks folks, you absolute legends, and then click Save As. Maybe before we make the star clusters, it's a good idea to add a few more lights into the scene. So I'm just going to drag this window down to give us a bit more room in the 3D viewport. I'll then toggle on wireframe view. In my outliner, I'm going to select the point light. I'll then navigate to my light data tab over here. I'll then change the colour to a yellowish tint, maybe something around there. It doesn't have to be precise, you can tweak this a bit later. I'll then go to my 3D viewport. I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate, and I'm going to pop the lamp over there. I'll then hit numpad 3 to go into side view. I'm going to hit G, and I'll bring it over to around about there. Maybe I can change the colour to this one to a blue colour, something around there perhaps. I'll then hit Shift D to duplicate, and I'll pop this down here. I'm going to hit numpad 1 to go into front view. I'm going to hit G, and I'll bring this over to around about there. For this one, maybe I can give this like a reddish tone. I'll hit Shift D to duplicate, and I'll pop this up here. Maybe I'll hit numpad 3 to go into side view. I'm going to hit G, and I'll bring this up to around about there. Maybe I'll give this a yellowish tone. I'll then hit Shift D to duplicate one more time, and I'll pop this down here. I'll hit numpad 7 to go into top view. I'll then hit G, and I'll bring this over to around about here. Maybe I can change the colour of this one, and I'm going to go for maybe a greenish tone, something around there. I'll just toggle into rendered view. Let's see what we've got. I'll just hit G. I'm going to bring this into around about there. Where's my red light? So I'm going to select this red light. I'm going to make it a bit more red. And in my viewport, I'm going to hit G. It's going to move this about so I can see a bit more bounce light in there. Maybe numpad 3 to go into side view. I'm going to hit G. I'll bring this out slightly. Maybe I can increase the brightness of the red light. So I'm going to set this to 200. I'm going to bring it out a bit more. I'm going to select this light. I'm going to hit G. Okay, so just play about with your lights until you're happy with the distribution. Don't worry about the brightness too much for now. So select your Nebula object. We're going to increase the shader editor window. And now we're going to work on the stars. I'll just box select these two nodes here. I'm going to hit G, and I'm going to bring these across over to here. We'll then hit Shift A, we go texture, and we'll choose Voronoi texture, and we'll pop that there. We'll then connect the vector from the mapping node into the vector of the Voronoi texture. We're going to change it from 3D to 4D. We're going to change it from F1 to smooth F1. We're going to set the scale to 10, and we'll set the roughness to 0. We'll then hit Shift A, we go color, and we'll choose color ramp, and we'll pop that there. We'll connect the distance socket from the Voronoi texture into the factor of the color ramp. We're going to change the interpolation type on the color ramp from linear to constant. I'll then connect the color socket from the color ramp into the volume socket of the material output. On the color ramp, I'm going to click this button here, and we'll choose flip color ramp. We'll then drag this black flag all the way across to around about there. Maybe we'll set it to 0.05. I'll then hit Shift A, we'll go shader, and we'll choose emission, and I'll pop that in between the color ramp and the material output. I'll swap this noodle from the color socket into the strength socket of the emission. We'll then hit Shift A, we go utilities, maths, and we'll choose maths, and we'll pop that in between there. We're going to change it from add to multiply, and this value here becomes the strength of the stars, so I'm going to set this to 10. I'll just box select these two nodes here. I'm going to hit G and bring these down to around about there. I'll then connect the color socket from the Voronoi texture into the color socket of the emission, and that's just so the stars will have randomized colors. I want to reduce the color saturation on the stars, so I'll hit Shift A and we'll go color, and we'll choose hue saturation value, and I'll pop that in between there, and I'm going to reduce the saturation to 0.5. I'll just box select these two nodes here. I'm going to hit G and bring these down to around about there. Maybe I'll bring this across. I'll box select these three nodes. I'm going to hit G and bring these across over to here. I don't want the stars to appear everywhere. I only want the stars to appear in the Nebula Clouds, and that's what gives the star cluster effect. So to do that, we need to mix this noise texture in the loop. So I'll hit Shift A, I'm going to go color, and we'll choose mix color, and I'll pop that in between this color ramp and the math node. I'm going to connect this color ramp into the bottom socket. I'm going to set socket A to black. I'll then take the color socket from this noise texture and plug it into the mix factor of this mix color node. I'll then hit Shift A, we go color, and we'll choose color ramp, and we'll pop that in between the noise texture and the mix color node. And on this color ramp, I'll set the position of the black flag to around about 0.53. And maybe for this white flag, I'm going to change the position to 0.65. So now the stars should only be appearing where the nebula clouds are. So that should be the stars complete. Now we just need to mix this in with the nebula clouds. So I'll just bring the material output over to here. I'm going to hit Shift A, we'll go shader, and we'll choose add shader, and I'll pop that in between there. I'm going to swap this noodle into the bottom socket. I'll then connect this add shader node into the top socket of this add shader node. I'll then box select all of these nodes here. I'll just hit G. I'll then hit F to add a frame, and I'm going to rename this frame to Nebula Star Cluster. I'll now do a bit of house tidying just to neaten the node structure up. So all I'm going to be doing is holding down Shift, right click and drag, hold down Shift, right click and drag. I can then select two of these noodle points. I can then hit SX0. I can scale. I can also add another control point through this noodle. I can then select these two noodles and hit SY0. So that's all I'm going to be doing to clean up this node structure, and I'll get back to you as soon as I'm done. Okay, that's the house tidying done, so I'm just going to drag the shader editor down, give us a bit more room in the viewport, and with my nebula object selected, I'm going to hit numpad 1, numpad period. I'll then hit Control Alt numpad 0, and that will align my camera to the 3D viewport. I'll then select my camera. I'm going to go to my object data tab over here. I'm going to ensure the X location is set to 0, and I'll set the Z location to 0. I'll then drag it on the Y location transform until everything is encompassed in the view. I'll toggle into solid view. I'm going to hit numpad 7 to go into top view. I'll then hit Shift A. I'll go to empty, and I'm going to choose sphere. I'll then navigate to the empty data tab over here, and I'm going to change the size to, let's say, 15 meters. Maybe I'll take it to 20 meters. I'll select my camera. I'll then hold down Shift and left click select the empty object. I'll then hit Control P, and I'll set parent to object keep transform. So now if I grab this empty object and hit G, you can see that the camera follows. I'm going to set my end frame to 240. I'm going to go to my output tab over here. I'm going to change my frame rate from 24 FPS to 30 FPS. I'll then go to my object data tab over here, and with your empty object selected and you're on frame 1, I'll go to my Z rotation transform and add a keyframe there. I'll then skip to the last frame. I'll then change the Z rotation transform to 90 degrees. I'll add another keyframe there. And in my timeline, I'm going to hit A couple of times just to select all the keyframes. I'll then hit T, and I'll change the keyframe interpolation type to linear, so we get a constant speed. I'll then hit numpad 0 to go into camera view, and if I hit play, you should see that the camera is orbiting the nebula. In fact, for me, that animation is a bit fast, so I'm going to skip back to the last frame, and I'm going to change the Z rotation from 90 degrees to 45 degrees. I'll then right click and choose replace single keyframe. I'll now toggle into rendered view. I'm going to go to my render tab over here. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and expand color management. I'm going to change my view transform from AGX to ASIS 2.0, and I'm going to increase my gamma to 2. I'll just select a random frame, In fact, I think I've got a bit too much blue in this scene. I really want to balance this out with another light. So I'm going to select the original point light. I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate, and I'll pop this over here. I'll then go to my light data tab over here, and I'm going to give this an orange colour, maybe something around there. I'll just toggle on wireframe view. I'm going to hit numpad 7 to go into top view. I'll just hit G, and I'm going to bring this to around about there. Maybe I'll hit numpad 1, I hit G, and I'll bring this down to about there. I hit numpad 0 to go into camera view, and I'm going to toggle on rendered view. Maybe I'll hit G, and I'll just bring this up here. Okay, I'm kind of happy with that. So I'm just going to toggle on material preview. I'll then click this arrow here, and I'll enable scene lights and scene world. I'll select my nebula object. I'm going to hit Ctrl S to save. For my final render settings, I'm going to go to my render tab over here, and I'm going to set the max samples to 1024. I'll keep a noise threshold of 0.025. I'll then go to my output settings over here, and under output, we'll click this folder icon, select the file location where you want to save your image sequence, and then click accept. A file format of PNG set to RGB at 16-bit should be absolutely fine, but for me, I'm going to choose a file format of OpenEXR with a codec of DWAA lossy, and that will decrease my file size whilst increasing dynamic range for post-production. I'll hit Ctrl S to save the project. I'll then hit F12 to render out a test frame. Okay, that's not looking too shabby, but we can make this look a bit better with a touch of compositing. So I'll close this window. I'm going to go to my compositing tab over here. I'm going to click new, and if you hit N on your N panel over here, we're going to click view and we'll click fit. I'll just hit N to hide the N panel. I'll then hit Shift A. I'm going to go filter, and we'll choose glare, and we'll pop that in between there. I'm going to keep it set to streaks, expand the highlights options, and reduce your threshold until you see streaks on your stars. Okay, I'm going to go with something like that. I'll then add a vignette on this, so I'm going to drag this vignette and pop it down there, and I'll pop this in the end. I'll expand the transform, and I'm going to bring the scale to 0.9 on X and Y. I'll also increase the feather to, let's say, 0.5. Maybe I'll set it to 0.75. So with the vignette selected, I'm going to hit M just to mute it. I hit M to unmute, and you can see the effect it's having. I might bring the factor down to 0.5. I'm going to keep my compositing simple. I would recommend tuning and tweaking the compositor to get better results, but for me, this will do for now. I'll then go to my layout view. I'll then toggle on material preview, and again, I recommend you play about with the lights, play about with these settings, and play about with these settings, just so you get a better composition. I might turn my stars up to 20. We'll hit Ctrl S to save the project, and then it's simply a case of hitting Ctrl F12, and that will render out your image sequence. If you enjoyed this episode, YouTube's recommendation algorithm thinks you'd love this next tutorial, so I'll see you there. Stay sharp, have a great day, and level up.